Yes, Graham, good morning to you, sir.
Hi, Jeff.
How are you?
Typically robust, Scottish, handsome, intelligent, in Sevilla. What more do you want?
Oh, this is perfect. With the shades and everything, buddy. I can't tell you how happy this makes me.
It's memories of your past when we were both younger and firmer.
So I want to ask you about Guardiola before we move on to tonight's game, the reason you're in Sevilla. Did he have many of these relationships with like older managers who he respected, who you wouldn't necessarily put him together with?
I was a little bit surprised in the warmth and the firmness of his words about a guy who practices a football that Pep would hardly recognise. And the key thing that I think is that you've heard Pep saying time and time again that what he values are the traditions about England. He isn't simply there to earn millions of pounds with Manchester City, make himself more famous and sample the cuisine. He genuinely fell in love with, very, very young, the concept of English football. It really does matter to him, Ger. And therefore, I think what you heard him saying, apart from the nice red wine joke, do all managers have to make that joke now? That, you know, that other fella's a good guy because he feeds me red wine. I think the thing you were hearing there, as much as you may like Tony Pulis individually, as do I, Tony has been friendly and interesting to me. He's had me over at the training ground to show me how things work. We stay in touch. I value his opinion. I think he's an intelligent footballer. I wouldn't necessarily pay to watch his football. I think what the key thing that you were hearing there was Pep the trade unionist. Pep who's willing to say, I thought we believed in longer term contracts and longer patience in England. So he's an honorary Englishman. The foreigners could change sometimes. Gianluca Vialli called everybody chaps and dressed in three-piece pinstripe suits. Pep is part of the union now. That's his contribution to English football. Maybe that's mostly why he spoke out there, I think.
I'm sure the LMA will be delighted for the backing of one of their guys. Just briefly on Pep then, when you talk about him being wedded to English football, there's a couple of 17-year-olds that are in the squad tonight. Foden is one of them, and then there's a little Spanish guy that he's kind of trying to keep a little bit of the attention away from. Foden did really well in the Under-17 World Cup recently. So is this the sign that Pep is actually properly wedded to this long-term thing where he's putting these players in the squad and trying to develop them into first-team players? Or is this like throwing the academy a bone and going, look, you know, we're already through. So
no bone throwing, man. No, I love your word picture, as I always do. But I think he gave you the absolute clue last May. You know how prickly he was last season compared to now. This season, aside from them playing well and winning, one of the bonuses we've got is Pep acclimatised, talking more reasonably, talking more openly, sharing things that get you to the heart of his football personality. And we all know it wasn't that way last season. You know, he was in porcupine mode. But by the end of the season, when the trophies were gone and he was being asked questions that he liked to hear, and when the focus had gone elsewhere, he was asked better questions. And do you remember him in May saying, one of the reporters said to him, and it was, you know, it was one of these, you get 15 minutes live on YouTube. One of the reporters said to him, all right, listen, what we're planning for next season, what are the talents like coming through the academy? And Pep said, don't worry, yeah, we've got talent, but I can't play them because they play in a brand of football which is not competitive. That's why you've got, you know, Maffeo and whoever all else over at Girona, 4 or 5 players there, Coyote, the Nigerian that they bought from Austrian football. And I think that Alex Garcia is there too to get competitive playing time. And in that complaint, you know, about guys like Foden who clearly play at a very competitive level at international football and has beautiful balance and timing and an ability to shift his balance to leave opponents off balance. He's a gorgeous footballer to watch, a Pep Guardiola style footballer to watch, and we know that because he's praised him. What Pep was saying is give footballers like that the type of experience that B-team footballers get in Spain. And he talked about the Academy League, or is it the Under-23 League? And played in front of no crowds at the wrong time of day, without pressure, with no repercussions from almost anybody if you don't play well or if you don't win. And he wants an edge and he wants competitiveness, and that's why he'll try kids out in the what's the Carabao Cup?
Yeah, Carabao essentially.
It's close, eh?
Ahead of tonight, Nolito's been speaking, and this kind of plays in with Pep as well, because he described Pep as a magician when he was chatting to the media today. He's in The Guardian today, for example. And he also had this very interesting point that when he was working under Guardiola didn't just tell him, you know, this is where you're playing and that's the end of the story. He would actually explain to him why he is playing in this position and why the instructions he's giving him are the instructions he's giving him. So it seems to me that suddenly you've got a group of Manchester City players who've got legacy here. They've got football intelligence that's being passed down to them from one of the greatest football minds around.
Look, I buy it. I mean, that's a gimme, because you know what I think about Pep Guardiola over the piece of his playing and managerial career. I think I know what you think about him, but I've got not a different take on it, but I want to say it differently, because midway through last season, my prognosis from having watched Pep Guardiola closely, interviewed him a few times, spoken to people who know him very well, is that, yeah, the footballers need to be very intelligent. I totally agree. And they need to learn. But he needed teaching time. That was absolutely fundamental. And when people said last year, with a good deal of schadenfreude, oh, look, you know, Pep Guardiola, inverted commas, doesn't travel. You know, he wasn't ready for this is England and all that kind of tosh. What was happening was that not very much of what he went through last season surprised him. But I think he was unaware of how much more teaching time on the training ground he needed in order to get his concepts through. And I'm not calling City's players slow or thick, but he cleared a lot of them out. And he brought in new ones who I think fit the profile of not simply being very good athletes, good, you know, with 1-2 touch football, who are at a point in their career where they're hungry, the trajectory is upwards. He bought footballers who he knew would understand, but he's also now had so much more teaching time on the training ground. And this concept of English football having the League Cup, which he didn't have in Spain or Germany, this concept of there being no winter break in England like there is extensively in Germany and to some degree in Spain, where you can assimilate and you can restart concepts. He'd simply had more teaching time at Barcelona, at Bayern Munich, and he probably started from a different base, you know? And that's what I honestly think that's one of the key things we're seeing the benefits of, if you like his football. I don't know if either of us are City fans, but if you're a neutral, and like, for example, what was it? It was Rio who was gushing, wasn't it, about the quality of the football. That's most people are right now. I think that's been the key factor. He's solidified at the back. They need to play out from the back. Stones has learned. Otamendi's improved. The fullbacks are markedly better. And the keeper is not only secure and not throwing things in, but he's a footballer too. From that basis and from the extra tuition time that has accumulated, I think those are the key reasons that the group of quality players are now clicking.
Let's talk a bit about Sevilla then. What kind of a challenge will they face, or will they pose for Liverpool tonight as a home team as opposed to the away team?
Look, I've shared my opinion with a lot of Liverpool fans who are down here. I spoke to Steve McManaman last night, who's in this hotel, the Sevilla team hotel. My point of view is that Liverpool on form should win. And there's a reason for that, because Sevilla are a year unbeaten at the Nervion here. They have a terrific coach. Across the squad, there are definitely quality footballers. And it's a very, not hostile place, but it's a noisy place. It's a place where you, as the opposition, you have to be sure about what you're doing. You have to be able to communicate without words because of the noise. If you're in any way doubtful, an atmosphere like this can put you off. Liverpool, however, have a key element, which is conviction and pace. Sevilla are a little bit lethargic across the ground, Ger. I mean, Nzonzi and Pizarro in the double pivoty midfield is a quality combination. Nzonzi, if he's allowed to control the game, can bring this back to Sevilla the way that he did at Anfield when they were 2-1 down and Pizarro had gone off and it looked like the gaps were there for Liverpool to exploit, and Nzonzi took it single-handedly and turned the tempo back. But across the team, Ger, Sevilla can get opened up, and that's why Berizzo, the coach, said yesterday, we need accuracy, we need precision, we need intelligence on the ball. We cannot give it away, because he knows that once Liverpool break, their transitions are so quick, and athletically they're so quick, that they could rip into Sevilla. And the only way to stop that from happening is to own the ball, to play intelligently, and to let the game-opening footballers like Sarabia, like Correa, like Nolito, like Ben Yedder, like Banega get on the ball. But if Liverpool are bossing this and breaking quickly, they have a significant advantage as far as I'm concerned. But I don't know if you two or your viewers have been at the Nervion. This stadium is fantastic. It's noisy. The anthem, they call it the Himno here, is a joy. It's better than You'll Never Walk Alone, I promise you.
I wanted to ask you about that, actually, because as you talked there, I was reminded of the time that Ireland played Spain in Sevilla and they beat us 2-0. They absolutely gave us the runaround. This is like World Cup qualifier 20-odd years ago. And at that stage, I think any time Spain had a difficult international fixture, they wouldn't play at the Bernabeu. They would bring them to Sevilla because they felt like that was where, not the real Spain, but that was where like it was going to be hot, it was going to be noisy, and the locals were so delighted that the national team were coming that there was a real fever.
You're absolutely right. You've categorised it correctly. It was their lucky ground. Everything is at fever pitch when sport or music or procreation is involved down here in Andalusia. It's November, if I calculate correctly, but you wouldn't know it by the blue sky, which I'm about to show you. That's first thing in the morning. I think you can see that.
Nice.
Just for everybody in Ireland, that's what a blue sky and green trees look like. And also it was 37 degrees. You know, these sort of temperature takers that are up in the middle of the street with a pole and a big, sort of, what's up in a screen. They were showing 37, that is, score check, yesterday afternoon. But it's chilly at night, so the things you're talking about in terms of this is a place where if you come in the wrong month and you're a Northern European, you're going to sweat out ghosts of your ancestors. It's going to be so tough. At night time here in November, it ain't so. But it is. It's an atmosphere that the Liverpool fans and players will recognise. I asked Klopp about that yesterday, and I said, "Listen, you've worked in Dortmund with that, you know, sort of yellow wall, Anfield. Do you recognise that this is a cousin? This is a similar experience?" And he was like, "Yeah, atmosphere can influence, but not if people aren't enjoying it. So we're here to make sure that they don't enjoy it, and therefore the atmosphere doesn't influence us." But it's going to be a beautiful thing. If you're a neutral watching it or listening to it, this is going to be, I think, the game of the week.
Yeah, and Liverpool in the Premier League anyway have the worst goals away tally in terms of those conceded. So this all points to a very favourable environment for Sevilla. But at the same time, since that trip to Wembley, Liverpool have far improved. They've tucked their full-backs in. They've told them to not be as so blindly adventurous as they were that day against Tottenham. And Sevilla are now going to face a very different Liverpool team to the one that they faced in the first match day between these sides.
I think a better one. I think one that is clearly... I mean, your points stand and are good. What I see is a Liverpool side that's in harmony. All the pieces know what they're doing. The danger of Coutinho and Mane is something that I'm not sure Sevilla face an awful lot. Types of players like that here right now. Also, whenever he's talking about Salah, the way him and Firmino work together and clearly enjoy playing together, I think as an ingredient in a striker being on form and hitting the net regularly, I think that's almost as important as saying, you know, he's quick and he's very precise in his finishes. They work as a partnership as far as I'm concerned and clearly look for each other and understand each other. These things are all, you know, significantly different from Anfield, where, let's face it, I think it was the fifth or sixth time, that was the sixth time a Klopp team, not Liverpool, have faced Liverpool in one way or another, not won once. And in the final in Switzerland in the Europa League, where the game was Liverpool's and it ended up 3-1, and at Anfield where the game was Liverpool's and they were threatening to run away with it at 2-1, and Sevilla were able to wrest control of the ball and the tempo back. That can't happen here. That can't, even though you're portraying the idea that it's a bigger test for Liverpool away because they don't score with the same conviction. Okay, fine, I buy that, but I think that they're built to win here, and if they don't impose their superiority, Sevilla have enough quality and enough fight and enough Champions League European quality to take this game away from them and qualify. But I see so many advantages for Liverpool that, you know, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but it will disappoint me if they don't impose that, because there's a natural imbalance in terms of winning the ball and breaking and scoring. And two of Sevilla's centre-backs are long-term out because of operations. Simon Kjaer, I'm sorry to mention his name, but he played against Ireland with a back sprain. It's still troubling him. You don't quite know how to seal things up at the back. So there's a big opportunity for Liverpool. Not a gimme game. I'm not saying, walk up, take the 3 points, go home to Anfield. But there's a big advantage for them here in terms of pace. Yeah,
they look good when they've had all 4 players that are their starting Las Cuatros Fantásticos at the front together, which is one time, so it's a small sample size, but it's pretty good. We did want to ask you before we go about Valencia, who are a team and a club reborn over the course of the summer. What the hell's happened?
It's fantastic. I can, unusually for me, tell you in short fashion, and it's Marcelino. We're all accustomed, over the years we've spoken on off the ball, whether in this glorious Technicolor 7D version or just in an old sort of 2 baked bean tin cans and a piece of string. That thing, call me. It's Marcelino. In Spain, that it's de rigueur that clubs work via a football director. That at best the coach will say, give me this template of a player, and the football director will go and put a name and a number and a price and a salary on that. Not with Marcelino. Let me take you to May. In May, Alex Sanko, who's the sports director at Valencia, is on the point of appointing Quique Setién from Las Palmas, who's now at Betis. Smashing coach, great proposition of football, and he's getting his kids signed up for school in Valencia. And at the last instant, another executive, Alemany, signs Marcelino, tells Setién, you're not coming, and Marcelino goes out and gets personally Guedes, Kondogbia, Gabriel, Neto, the list goes on and on and on. Pereira from Manchester United. He's the one who says, I'm taking that guy, and persuades them directly. And if you look at all the, I think, did you use revitalised or a project that excites? When you're rebuilding like that, having been in such a mess, Marcelino also chose the players who were to be got out. It's old style, British and Irish manager who coaches as well. And he's got every decision right. He's been given the power. And, next Saturday, the Mestalla, Valencia against a slightly understrength Barca, because Piqué won't be there, and a Barca who are not as good as their numbers. Valencia should win that. And it's the game upon which the Spanish season hinges. It will be unbelievable. Anybody who's got spare cash or who's just been paid off, Tony Pulis, get a flight, get to Valencia and get a ticket for the Mestalla. It'll be the best game in Europe in the whole of the winter.
Yeah, it really will be amazing for La Liga if they manage to do it this weekend. You saw up on screen there a moment ago that Barcelona have scored 33 goals this season. Valencia have scored just 1 less than them. But just looking a little bit deeper into that, Valencia have a goal conversion rate of 21%, the highest in all of La Liga. So that leads me to question how sustainable this output is in attack. And also the idea that Marcelino, obviously you pointed to the genius that he is, but he was doing triple training sessions with them in pre-season. It seems like they've gone gung-ho for the start of the season here to get off to a very, very good start. And I'm just wondering how sustainable that really is.
All right. There's my chin. Do you want to stick another one on me? Those are good points. I take your argument. Number one, the threat up front is worse because, like Luis Suarez, Simone Zaza, who's the bull up front and has played with the intensity and power and aggression that makes him a really frightening striker for defences. And the service, from wide, whether it be Pereira and Guedes or Carlos Soler, who Manchester United want, as do Atletico Madrid and Valencia, saying you can't have him, 60 million is the buyout clause, anything less, forget it. Service to him is great, but he's playing like Suarez with a meniscus injury. And each of them has chosen to play through a partial tear and hope that it can mend. It's like a Ledley King situation. They don't train as much and they hope that they'll be ready for the weekend. If that meniscus problem aggravates, then Zaza's out for 4 or 5 weeks. And given the physical specimen that he is, who knows exactly how long the period of sharpness is if he goes. So you've got a problem there, I would agree. And secondly, yes, I know that the way Valencia look at last, like league contenders again, resembles the days of Rafa Benitez. And what happened then, albeit that the success was absolutely glorious, the greatest period in the history of Valencia, He squeezed the players until there were no drops left, and there was a burnout factor. And I accept your point that Marcelino is famous for probably even being more demanding. So the key thing there is, can he repeat his trick? Can he say in 18 months, not in 3 seasons, now's the time to rotate people and sell and buy again? Because if he doesn't do that, yeah, the burnout factor will come for sure physically. But if it comes via a couple of trophies, how loud are the complaints going to be? Not very loud.
Graham, great stuff. Enjoy the game tonight. Brilliant to have you with us. Thanks a million, man.
Cheers, fellas.
And for the glimpse of blue sky, we will forever be grateful. Graham Hunter with us from Sevilla. I'd like to go to Seville.
Yeah, I've never been. It's, what is it, South Coast, pretty close. What is it, about an hour and a half away from Malaga, maybe?
Yeah.
Trying to think of the closest airports.
Bit inland, yeah.
Yeah, a nice blend of history and, of course, glorious sunshine.
Hemingway, oranges.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Strong drinks.
Yeah,
Late
football.
Nights. Yeah, and football.
I think that was that the qualification campaign for the '94 World Cup?
Yeah, I would have said potentially yes, but no.
Because I think certainly just
Spain and Portugal in that group.
Yeah, I think so. Because certainly Spain come to Dublin in '93, and just when I was thinking back, what was the biggest game in Dublin that Ireland have had? Like you think McAteer, like ahead of Denmark last week. You think of Spain '93, so that must have been that campaign. Potentially the year beforehand, we go to Sevilla.
Did we win that 1-0? Is it 1-0? Is it 0-0?
I don't remember. It doesn't really matter, does it?
We beat Portugal 1-0 in that game. But that for some reason, I think that Portugal, were there 3 groups in the 90s and noughties?
Well, you're asking the wrong person here.
Yeah, sure. That was some of the worst internet TV you've ever seen. Thanks very much for that. My apologies to that.